is so crucial in this war against cybercrime, as I like to say it often. So just get right in here. My name is Cora Park. I'm the founder of Diamond Business Communications. And for those of you who I guess don't know me, know how I got here today, I actually jumped into this business, fell into this business in 2013, and fell in love with this business model of managed service provider, where I've been an entrepreneur for my whole life, and when I sit at the table and I see that this is something that I knew what I wanted but didn't often get. So when I fell into this again, I fell in love. Here's a business model with tools that were really only available to enterprise organizations, and now we could deliver them to small and medium-sized businesses. This is something I could wrap myself around, and I get so excited about it. That's what we do, right? Here, Diamond, we just love to help small medium-sized businesses and nonprofits by unifying their use of today's technologies and getting in front of it. Often you will find that my mantra, our mantra I should say, is we like to be the technology liaison, to deliver excuse me, access, knowledge, do you know what I mean, as well as the first class support. I mean, think about it, access to all these tools, these next gen tools to help you keep ahead of your competitors, keep your employees processing faster, more efficient, knowledge like today, showing you how to use these great tools, and delivering them with first class support. It's a win-win all around. So enough about me, Diamond. I'm really excited about my guest today. My guest who is joining us, his name is Matthew Rebstock. He is a fellow MSP, just like myself. And how we've come together is we have a mastermind group, if you will, that is comprised of all MSPs, managed service providers, throughout the United States. It's actually global. Okay, it's over 8,000 of us, I think, and we are broken up into small groups. And Matthew and I sit on the same accountability group, is what we call it, and what they call it. And together every week, alongside of our coach, we share business strategies, tools, what works, what doesn't, and we're held accountable to our stages and KPIs. So we enjoy using that methodology, I guess, with our clients as well. So it's a definite win-win. And of the whole group, the most exciting person, the OCD of the group, that is, when it comes to documentation, and credentials and security, Matthew is the perfect candidate to be on this call today. So I'm very excited. So Matthew, introduce yourself, say hello, and just really, tell us a little bit about yourself and, what we want to share today.
Yeah, thanks, Cora. I appreciate you having me on. So I basically run a managed service provider down here in Florida. We work with about 160 small businesses, providing that stellar support and technology. And just a background on me before all of this, I was actually a computer programmer for the Air Force, working on systems that deploy our nuclear warheads.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with that snow that's here, right? It's up there in sunny California. I mean, Florida. I know, right? So, well, thank you again for joining us. I think everybody will agree, after we get done with this, you'll just see, the passion that comes through from our group, if you will, on, why it's so important that we are here today. And, the use of a tool of such, is crucial again to fighting off, this cyber world we live in today, where they're all after your data. So, let's just jump into it. We got a lot to cover. I'm going to start off right away. Okay. Don't be the next headline. And, I say that with extreme passion. And, just before, I guess, every webinar or seminar that I will do, I try to go out and find, a headline, something that, hits home with everybody. So this morning, I literally put this in this morning. this morning, I'm looking to, it took me like 2 seconds, of course, it always does, a security platform, announced that there was a car dealership with over 3 million customers uh, for a car company that had their data breached and released on the dark web. I put the article on there, and I don't typically read slides, all right, but in this particular case, okay, because this car company had everything exposed, if you will, this truly hits home. So I'm just going to read the conclusion. That article link is there. I'll put it in the chat if anybody wants it. But they concluded that, moreover, and I'm looking at my screen now. Moreover, the user credentials are used by threat actors to break into. I'm sorry. To break into other valuable platforms such as bank accounts, personal emails, accounts, and corporate systems. The diverse set of the user data can also be used to guess and crack security questions, often used by companies to reset passwords. Commercial email addresses can even be targets for spear phishing. So again, I don't typically read from a slide, but this is the whole reason we're here today. I mean, I kid you not, this is the whole content for today's webinar is password management and your credentials, and trying to bring to your attention, how important it is, and how you really need to take charge of it. And kudos, everybody's here today doing just that. Am I right, Matt?
Yeah,
I mean,
Cora, it's actually important to note, even though you just found this today, you could pick any day of the calendar, and there's a hack, there's a headline, there's something going on out there. This one seems pretty massive, that there's 3 million.
Unbelievable. And it wasn't even they, like, this huge car dealership, or huge car company that got hit. It was a little company that worked for a dealership in Illinois, in Chicago, that just handled a lot of data that was pushing it through to the company. So it's the small, medium businesses like you and I that are doing this.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I probably most people are going to be asking, like, how does a hack like this happen? So we find a lot of times there's a couple different reasons. One of the big ones has to do with like password reuse. So you get one specific application, like we do dark web scans for clients, so we're constantly scanning the dark web for compromised passwords. Almost all of the clients that we have, they end up we find something called MyFitnessPal. It's a very prevalent
Yep. We're seeing it too in our scans.
So if you're using that same password on MyFitnessPal and you've been hacked and they've got your email linked with your password, and you use that same password over into, like, say, your financial institution, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whatever, you better believe these people that are hacking this stuff are going to be trying where the money is. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And it's a great I'd be curious to know too, actually how many people are on this webinar today, because of the security, the credentials, I have to ask, and you know what, how many people on this webinar today are using the same password more than once, right? So, just get in there and throw it into the chat box, and we'll take a peek at that and see how that's going.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like there's a couple people that say that they're having a hard time hearing me. Is this better? I'm trying to speak up a little bit.
Okay. Better. Right. I see better. Yes. Okay. Okay. We have some good things and bad things going on, which is, but yes, a lot of passwords, but not reusing them. Still can't hear you, Matthew. We're getting from one of the panelists.
I'll fix that real quick.
I mean, one of the things. But we got a couple using the same password. Thank you for your honesty. And, hopefully, you're in the right place. So this is a kudos for that. We're going. All right. Some are all the same. Oh boy. Okay. You know what? We need to get going on this, Matthew. I'm thinking some people need our help, right?
Yeah. So let's see here. So actually let's talk about how people crack passwords.
Nope. Okay.
If you want to go to the next slide, I mean, most people that are cracking this, it's a criminal enterprise. They're doing this, it's their day job. Okay, so they're at it, 24/7. If they have like a server or bots that are doing it, or they're actually physically working 8 hours a day at it. So take a look at this specific password here. Most people, simple passwords, a kid or a pet name.
I see it all the time. Mm-hmm.
So this one, we just plugged it into a website that shows us how long it takes to crack this. And it's 1 month and 25 days, which is really a drop in the bucket for
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's doing this as a day job.
Mm-hmm.
So the big thing is creating complex passwords, the 2 uppercase, 2 lowercase, 2 numbers, 2 symbols, and really you're not supposed to be using any kind of dictionary words in there.
That's maddening. It's absolutely maddening.
The hackers are using what's called a brute force attack, where they're just plugging in all these different variations from the dictionary. So you really,
I could see.
Go ahead.
I said I can see where some people might say, "Oh, a month, in 25 days." Well, I'm good, right? But not so much. I mean, these cyber criminals are sitting in a room, with cubicles, the size of, your enterprise companies, where they got processes running and everybody's, password like that. For example, that headline today with the Illinois, that breach was actually in December. Okay, so now those names have already been on the dark web now for 3-4 months. So boom, if they were easy, then they have been exposed, right? So if they're using this buddy 123, whatever the small password over and over again, we got a news flash. You know what I mean? That's actually, they're in trouble. Do you know what I mean? Their credentials are going to be in their banks. That's what cyber criminals do. That's what we're trying to, I guess, get across, right? How, if it gets exposed once and you're using the same one, that's what's going to happen. So
and I switched to my headset, so everybody should be able to hear me much better now.
Awesome now. Yep.
Okay, good. Nice. Sorry about that.
Yes, we're getting lots of oh, yeah, that's great. Okay. So
all right. So what's a complex password look like?
Right. Change. There we go. Now, that cracked, what is that, 506,000 years? 500.
Yeah, that's about 500 million years. I could live with that.
I could live with that, right? And again, why are we here? Like, who's got time to create passwords like that, let alone memorize them, right? This is the part that, today is why we're here. And you had brought up a good point, when we were talking about this with the security.
Yeah, so we always try to, as IT providers and, we're advising you here, we always have this internal struggle between security and usability. They don't go hand in hand. They're literally, that scale right there shows you, they're always direct opposites. So we can put all the security measures in place and make it so that it takes you 15 minutes to get into a system, or relax the security and make things easy for you. So we try to basically make it like a 50-50 situation. So it's to the point now with the way that the hackers are and how prevalent it is, and especially with all the COVID stuff and everybody going remote, all the hacks have amped up a significant percentage. It's almost, you have to have a complex password. You have to have things that are randomized. You have to have it where you're not using the same password across multiple platforms. You're leaving these little openings and cracks in the foundation for these people to get through. And that's how you end up getting compromised and losing money, or God forbid your business has to close,
Absolutely. So that, I'm getting questions. Well, how am I supposed to remember all these passwords, right? So, perfect example. Here's a list we comprised of, just an average business, an average person, They have all these different web applications, you know, and you're trying to juggle, you know, massive number of accounts that, you know, on a day-to-day basis, right? And this is just one, you know, this HR, if you will, not HR, marketing, right? And
Yeah.
combine that with
So
the
I'm
other
sure
ones.
more privileged accounts have things like, you know, accounting and operations, and heck, you know, you look at somebody that's the owner of a company that needs the keys to the kingdom. I went in my password manager today and I've got 119 passwords. There is no way on this planet I could remember all of those.
Right. It sounds like a number poll. How many passwords do you have? You know, the winner's going to get a prize, you know, right? So.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, really, this is just, you take this, you combine just, you know, marketing, you know, in a business world, like you said, you know, you have the accounting department, sales, you know, like, and you know, and even if you're a three-man office, you know what I mean, you still have all those departments you're running and those passwords. How are you storing them, right? How are you sharing them? This is, you know, I know you'd agree with this, Matthew, right? Your password security, you know, affects the overall safety of the company. I mean, it just, it
100%,
simply
yeah.
does. Right. I mean, think about.
So we actually,
yeah.
we find with the clients we're bringing on that haven't been exposed to good password hygiene or anything like that, that there's about 3 different ways that they like to store their passwords, and all of them are no better than the next. So the number one way, and you kind of got it on the screen there, is sticky notes. So who's got sticky notes that are just, you know, stuck to their screen or under their keyboard or in their left-hand desk? Like, you know, if I go into a client's office, you know, that we're just working with, most of the time I don't even ask them for their password. I'm just kind of like looking around on the on their desk, and I can see it in plain sight. A lot of other clients will they'll use their notes on their phone inside of like their Apple phone or Android phone, or they'll put it in the contacts in their Outlook. And the worst one is the ones that have that false sense of security and put it into Excel and password protect their Excel. So, and I'm sure you're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I'm curious to see how many people on the call today have a sticky note somewhere on their desk, their monitor, in plain sight that that they have a password on. Just put like the number 2 in chat or something like that.
Oh, come on, somebody has a sticky note, I'm sure, you know.
Nobody?
I bet, no sticky
no
notes.
Sticky, oh, well, that's good. That's good.
That's good.
Anybody using any of the other password management or non-password management ideas that I had in there that we see clients like Excel spreadsheets and whatnot?
Yep. Getting a yep. Yes. Excel. It's pretty much because, you know, I kind of understand. I'm not saying it's, you know, but like, where are you going to put all this stuff, right? You know, it's either 1,000 sticky notes, and we even got a small notebook coming in. Can you imagine? Okay, got your notebook, your briefcase, your computer, and your password. It's where we're at, you know. And so, again, it really is crazy. And you know,
well, you also get to this point with, you know, a lot of people think about passwords and it's like your personal password and everything, but now we're in business and we have these shared accounts that we're kind of trying to, you know, say you guys only paid for one Zoom account and you've got to share that account across a couple of people. Like, how are you sharing those passwords? Are you passing these sticky notes? Are you emailing them to each other? You shouting it across the office, and it becomes very, very hard to manage. So you actually need some way to manage this and a way to actually share this across the board. And not to mention that, how do you keep track of who the heck you shared it with?
Right.
You know?
So I'm actually getting a question brought forward that, you know, why isn't an Excel spreadsheet that's password protected safe? Oh, all of a sudden I lost his voice. Can't hear you. Well, it's very easy to break into databases. And, you know, if that's something that's being shared, you know, number one, it's just a vulnerability that's going to put you in a spot where it's just easy to crack. Now, Matthew might want to, you have to unmute, Matt.
Yeah, for some reason the phone just hung up on me, so that's wonderful. Okay, so as far as the Excel spreadsheet, I actually had a client, like, they were really proud. They're like, yeah, I've got it, you know, password protected and everything. I said, okay, let me sit down and show you how protected this really is. And it took me 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I had none of their passwords. I didn't have any administrative access to their system. I just sat down in front of their computer and I had all of their passwords. So if I can do something like that, people that are doing this day in and day out and all they're doing is hacking, they're not, you know, doing all the background stuff and fixing computers, they can do it even faster the second that they gain access to a system. So it's, I'm pretty sure, I think you, there was an article at one point where there was a kid that was like probably like 13 or 14 that was able to crack these passwords. So
Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Definitely not a secure source, and you don't want to have that false sense of security. That's really the most dangerous part, actually.
I mean, you think about it, you know, like your data, what you're protecting. I mean, if you thought of that as like your home, right? Okay, and all the windows are, you know, leaving windows and doors open, unlocked. You know, these are all, you know, little cracks, vulnerabilities for, you know, a criminal to break in. You know, it's the same thing with your computer, you know, and your data and, you know, everything that you are protecting in your digital world. You know, you certainly wouldn't leave the key taped to the, you know, the door saying, you know, yes, you may give it to a neighbor, you know, but that also brings up, okay, well, I gave, you know, my coworker the password to get into, you know, QuickBooks that one day because otherwise payroll wasn't going to get out, you know. But what about, you know, the payroll department? And, you know, now it's like, okay, I shared that password. How do I go back, right? And
yeah, so there's a lot of dangers of having these passwords in these insecure places. I actually, there's a kind of funny story. I think you got that on the next slide. Is that ballistic missiles like alert that came out.
Right.
So I don't know if you guys remember. This was like a year, maybe two back that this alert kind of popped up on everybody's cell phone that there was a bomb or missile coming into Hawaii. And after they did like their friends that got it and figured everything out, they found out how the people got in, and it was a compromised password. And the funniest thing is the hackers found the password on Facebook. It was a photo of this gentleman, and I think you got that on the next slide. He's got a sticky note with his password in plain text right behind him there.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that guy doesn't have a job anymore. And it's so simple. Like, we don't actually think about password hygiene and password security, and it's just like, oh, it's another thing that we're just gonna write down over here, and we don't think about everybody that has access to that, or something as silly as posting a picture and knowing that it's you know, now out on the public internet, you know.
Right. And, you know, before you're getting all relaxed and comfortable saying, well, I would never do that, right? Okay. That's the Excel spreadsheet. I mean, it really, like you said, would it took you 3 minutes to crack that, you know?
Yeah.
And I also have, I guess somebody's writing in that, you know, most of the passwords are saved on the iPhone, all right? And it's constantly recommending them to change and update passwords. You want to?
So I'll tell you, the one thing about iPhone, and if you allow it to use the strong password that comes up there, like, that's great. Now you're randomizing passwords across the board, but you also, how close to your chest are you keeping your iCloud credentials? Are they linked into an email address that somebody can reset that stuff? How close are you keeping the passwords to the email that controls your iCloud account? So all these things, like, if somebody gains a foothold into your email, they can reset your iCloud. Now they have access to all of your passwords. So that's one of those, like, if your iCloud password is being reused anywhere else, you're putting yourself in danger. So I tend to like to segregate things and actually have a password management that's not tied into my iCloud storage and my photos and videos and that type of stuff. You want something segregated all by itself that you can have one password to, and you never use that password anywhere else. You don't write it down. You don't tell anybody that password. Yep. It's the keys to the kingdom.
It's all about
That's like,
education, access, knowledge, and you know,
yeah.
we all have.
You think about it like a safe. You know, you got a if you've got a safe at your office, you're not going to give the combo to somebody, right?
Right.
So that's
right. So, you know, again, you know, I gotta put these articles out there, you know, and I put the link right there on the bottom too. Do you know what I mean? Poor password management truly is discovered to be, you know, the behavior, the reckless behavior. You'll often hear me say, you know, between, you know, how you're sharing, where you're storing, you know, it's the number one thing that is leveraged by perpetrators. And, you know, in that article, you will find that 81% of the hacking related breaches leverage all drilled back to either stolen or weak passwords. You know, so with that said, you know, like a business truly needs a password manager. I can't say it enough. You cannot keep up with these today's, you know, crazy, you know, 12 characters, you know, numbers, uppercase, lowercase. You know, how are you supposed to remember all these passwords, right? I think.
Yeah, I think the last time that I actually went and looked at the metrics for like how much a password compromise costs a business. Now this is across all businesses, not just small businesses. It was like $117,000,
Yeah.
which to me, as a small business owner, well, honestly, I mean, I look at it and I know how much we make and everything. As a small business owner, it just, that seems like it's a gigantic number. Like there's no way that it could possibly be that. But we had a medical practice come to us that got ransomware. So all of their data got encrypted, all their computers got hacked. They actually didn't have a good backup in place. So that's another thing that you want to think about. But after we were done and we solved the problem, we got the hackers out, we helped them reconstitute their data. A lot of it had to happen from rekeying it manually from the paper medical records. So they had to pay overtime for that. They lost money from not being able to see patients while they were down. They lost money from reputation. They weren't able to collect from insurance. And by the time it was all said and done, it was actually about $1.25 million that it cost them. So that's a 25, employee company. So now kind of divide that down and see how easy it gets to about $117,000. I mean, most of these password compromises.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they'll cost people. The average downtime is about 2 weeks for a major compromise and breach, because you got to think you got to get everything back up and running, do a forensic audit, make sure that the people aren't still inside of your computer. So it takes a while, and you can't do business that whole time if you rely on computers to do business, right?
Numbers add up. They certainly do.
Yeah.
I've said in most of my webinars too, the clock starts ticking the minute that breach happens to add up. So, yes.
Yeah, I see that Lisa actually said something about the password protected Excel sheet and why it's not safe. I know we kind of went over it, but I wanted to just include one thing. There is public software out there. You can Google cracking a Excel spreadsheet, and there's a program that you can plug that file into, and it will crack it for you. So if it's out there on Google and anybody can grab it, that's how unsafe it is. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, I believe. Well, now, what if I could told you, we had an answer to all these problems, right? All you have to do is remember one password. And that password takes care of all that stress, all that complexity, the burden, gives you your life back, as you once knew it when, I think a good scenario now, or a good saying should be, if you know your password, it's not good, right? So you're not supposed to know your passwords anymore. You just can't, So we know what all the problems are now, right? We hopefully we've expressed to you what risks you're taking, by not utilizing a tool that manages all this for you. So let me introduce you to Diamond Glue, right? With this particular password management, you do have the capability to just copy and share, URL, safe, secure, and you're good to go. Securely sharing passwords, And, you know, I think this is where I'm going to let Matt chime, you know, as far as, I know, right? I'll reel you in. I'll reel you in when you get too excited, you know, when you start getting.
Sounds good. Yeah, you
Okay.
can tell I'm passionate about this stuff. So.
Right. So security, you know, I just kind of touched on securely sharing the passwords. You know, that's one part of the Diamond My Glue. Another key part right here, as you can see, it's the password manager, you know, for your team, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you this, the autofill passwords, honestly, that's what saves my team the most time. I mean, you figure the amount of passwords that we're managing, we don't have to know what they are. They just go in, that we know that they're secure. It just, it saves, I can't even calculate the time that it saves me.
Right, and also too, you know, like you mentioned before, you know, when you're utilizing staff or you have temporary staff, or not, you know, they don't even see the passwords. You know, they're just kind of like filling it in, clicking, you know, and the ability to do their job. So in that case, in that scenario, that's a great bonus too. So like again, how many passwords?
Yeah, so that was a screen grab taken from our system yesterday, and
right.
That's my entire team, and it's a staff of 8 people managing 3,600 passwords.
Yeah.
So no way there's no way we can remember all those.
Nor should you, right? For security purposes alone, you know, you want to lock that down. So why don't we take a peek, right? How about, you know, let's show everybody they're here today, you know, to see, okay, how am I going to do this? And, you know,
all right, let's take it for a spin.
How easy it is. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that, Matthew,
all right. So we're going to dive in here. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Chat.
You see my screen, right?
Yes, I do. Sorry. I was like looking.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure. All right. So at the heart of it, My Glue is it's a web application. Okay. So we're basically what we're going to here. This website is we're going to call it the My Glue portal. So we have a demo user that we have here, Diana. We're going to log in real quick. So we're going to make this a quick. Now, this would be the one password that you have to remember. This is the one you want to make uber secure, never share anywhere. So we're going to log in. And I will tell you this, so if you guys aren't familiar with multi-factor authentication, it's said to actually mitigate 97% of hacks. So just by having this one-time code that you put in that gets text to you, or you have inside of like an authenticator in your app or whatever, that's a really good security measure that you can take today on a lot of your accounts to just take care of the lion's share of the work. So once we're inside of the portal here, and this is actually, there's a question in the chat here that, is it a general tool that you own or team developed it? So this is developed by another partner. It's a very large organization, and it's rooted in security. So it's what we call a SOC 2 compliant password manager. That means it has all of the audit trail access that you can go through and see who's accessed what, revise it at a specific time. And then we just, as managed service providers, we gain access to this and leverage out our systems to you to be able to use it. So I want to draw your attention on the left-hand side here. My Glue is centered around password management. So you have passwords here, but there's also things like documents and other types of like assets that we can track. And depending on if you're just using the password manager or if you're going to be like a full Diamond business client, we can turn on more things that will allow you to track things like your domain and different contacts and all kinds of things that have to surround your IT environment. So I'm actually there's a little search in here. So I'm gonna go through the passwords here. This is just like a full list curated of all your passwords. This is our demo account has a lot of this stuff stored in here that have quick actions for you. So if you like hover over the little person, it will, if you click on it, it's literally like copying your username. So now you can go paste it into another field, and the same thing goes for your password. You can copy password here. And then you can also launch directly into a website. So like, let's say we want to log into Indeed and check our job posting or whatever. And so we're going to click to open the URL. From here, it's going to take us to the login. And now this is where we find that MyGlue becomes really powerful when you pair it with this extension that we can install. And that all happens during the onboarding process. But there's this little extension up here called MyGlue, and it will basically detect every single password field on a website and allow you to search for your own passwords. So on this one, we just kind of click on this logo here. It notices we're on Indeed and that we have an Indeed password. So we're just going to click on that, and it automatically injects everything. We don't need to know what the password is. We click sign in, you're done. So, and if we expose the password on there, you're going to see that it's this randomized password of, I mean, there's no dictionary words in it. It's, yeah. And if I were to plug that password into that cracker, it's going to be like the 500 million years to crack it. So we've got good security. It's not being produced anywhere else. So the other thing is you can use this extension up at the top here to do like a quick search. So I'll use that same example, like Indeed. We can click on the Indeed here to like view the stuff. So we can actually like physically see the password if we needed to, or we can use those action icons to copy. Or if you were to go straight from the extension, and I think what was one of the examples that we had here, Amazon, you can click on the password and it'll actually bring you directly to that site. It'll plug in your username. And sometimes it depends on the website and how they programmed it. Sometimes it will inject the password for you automatically, but most of the sites that have the username and the password on two different screens, it just causes you to do an extra click here. But it's still a lot easier than having to type out this password or remember what this is, because it's a rough password.
And basically just to, Matt, with you, just to share real quick. So they're looking at a view as if they were logging on themselves, right? So when you log in the morning, you're clicking on that extension, signing in one time, and you're done. All your passwords for the day are right there. Like you can literally just type what you were looking for. If you can't find it, you click on that again, search. Oh, that's right. What is the password for?
Correct. Yeah. So, and we actually sometimes will store in the passwords other things that might be like, you know, security stuff. Like if we wanted to store and share like a credit card, we'll actually put it in as a password, and it makes it really easy.
That comes in very handy. That's for sure.
Yeah. So the as far as the logging in, it's not like you have to log in once a day. So if you kind of get up and leave your computer and it's stagnant for an hour or two, it will cause you to have to log back into MyGlue. It's a security measure, and it's really important that it does that. But it's still a far cry from having to remember, you know, 119 different passwords and type them all in. So it's just that one password to rule them all. So I wanted to take some time and just show you how we would do like a password reset, because it's kind of the same as a like creating a password, but it kind of shows you both pieces of it. So we're going to use Canva as an example.
For the first time, like if you were like onboarding onto this account, you know, like you would load in your current passwords as they stand, but one by one you would go through and reset them, as Matthew's going to show you right now.
Yeah, that's a great. That's a great point that you make, because you know, you probably have your insecure passwords like Fluffy123 that you're dealing with right now. There's a way for us to import all of that stuff into MyGlue so you don't have to hand type it. And then you'll go through this process in the beginning of really amping up the security and allowing MyGlue to generate those passwords for you. So one, you don't have to think of it. Two, they're complex. And three, they're not repeated across a bunch of sign-ins. So I'm gonna go to Canva here, and I'm kind of gonna show you. We're gonna do a quick login. So I'll click on the password. Sometimes if it doesn't bring you to the login screen, you might have to pull this up. Again, it's however they design it as a web designer. But what I want to do is I actually want to show you this password before we reset it, because you'll see the difference. If I go in here and I just show the password for everybody to see, that's not very secure password. It's one dictionary word, it's some numbers. If I plug this in, it's probably going to be a month or two to crack it, which is really nothing when you're talking about cybersecurity criminals. So I'm going to log in, and everybody should be familiar with a password reset process. You find your way into like account settings or security or whatever. And from here, you're going to do that update password. Sometimes they'll have you, email you a link to reset your password, but the same thing applies with MyGlue going through this. So I'm just going to plug in that same password that we have. And at this point, we get to create a password. So what we can do is we can use MyGlue up here and just generate a password. We can do create password. And just because there's some websites that don't tell you what their password complexity requirements are from the get-go, I don't like to do the store and save here. I just copy it and plug it in and make sure it works first, because some need symbols, some need numbers, uppercase or whatnot. And the generator in here, sometimes it'll generate it with symbols in, sometimes it won't. It tries to keep it really random. So I'm going to plug this in. It says it's strong. We plug this into that cracker, again, like 500 million years. So I've now created this. Now I have a brand new password in Canva. Now I just have to find my way back to MyGlue. So you can either do it through the extension and search it, or you can come to that portal and find Canva. And we're going to do an edit.
You didn't have to write it down and remember what it was? So when you go in there.
Well, so I copied that password. So if you do a right click, copy, paste, or I use keyboard shortcuts, same deal. So I'm just going to go in here and paste that password. I don't know if you saw that. I clicked on edit. And then right in the password field, we just go ahead and paste and save. And now it's stored. The next time we go in there, I can actually do a log out and log back in. Or actually, we're already logged out. I'll click on this, log in, and that's my new password. It's in there. So it's kind of important to show you here that you've got a ton of password managers that are out there on the market, and that it's great if you use something like that if you're not using anything at all. But there's a big differentiator between MyGlue and those, and it's that audit trail, right? So you can see what's going on, especially if you're going to use this for your employees and you want to have some sort of visibility as what's happening. You look down here at the bottom, revisions, you can see every time and who was the person that changed that password. And you can actually go back to a previous password in case somebody went in and plugged in a password over this, but didn't really reset it. Yeah, yep. And now while we're down in this section, I also want to kind of draw your attention to the security. If you click on security here, this is where MyGlue really shines in Teams. You have the capability to share a password with a team member or a group of team members. So literally, it's just as easy as dropping this down and checking the person's name. And now they have access when they log into their MyGlue to search for it. And say my team, you got 3,600 passwords. It's kind of hard to search, We're managing passwords for our IT clients. And, we've got, maybe 50 clients that have a GoDaddy password. So we can't just search GoDaddy. So if you need to share something with a team member, you can just copy this link up top here and send it to them. And you can send it in email, in plain text.
In that case, it's safe.
Yeah, it's safe because if a person, I'm just going to go into an incognito window real quick. If another person were to grab this link and go to it, this is what they're going to see. If they don't have that MyGlue login and they haven't been explicitly allowed to view that, there is no way that they can get into it. Do we have any questions here?
Let's see.
I know I kind of went through that fast.
Okay, how does it work when you have several people using an app? So I think that's kind of what you were just sharing a little bit.
Yeah, so if you have like a communal, like say it's like the Zoom login or whatever, if I go back to this and we have a Zoom login, it's just as simple as if you've got 5 MyGlue users in there, they're all going to show up down here on the list, and you just put a checkbox by their name. You don't even have to click save. It saves it for you automatically.
So yeah, I think one of the things that we all do, and we, we would share with you guys as well as a tip, if you will, is if you were to implement this within your team, the first thing we would do is we make our team, scratch all their passwords they have, and then they have to redo them with a MyGlue generated password. And the reason for that simply is now you've got charge of what your employees are using, number one, okay, and that in itself is a security level. Perfect example, and Matt, we go through this all the time as far as if somebody's working on something, or let's say they quit, you know what I mean, or they just don't come back. Now they're out there with all those passwords, that you shared with them, or, do you know what their passwords are to get into these certain things? So with the audit trail, it's twofold, right? Where
so
they've been,
there's a
what
couple
they've had
of
access to.
there's a couple of really good points on MyGlue that you can use. So like you can work with Diamond and they can pull an audit trail log for you, where say you have to let an employee go. If you're using everything through the password manager, you can pull an audit of what are all of the passwords that they have touched, seen, used in the past 4 months. So now you can go back and actually like change those passwords. But like Cora was saying at the beginning that I'm OCD and I'm process driven and everything. If you put in place a process in your company where you tell people the only password that you're allowed to use on this is one that MyGlue generates. And this is for you tell them it's for the security of our company. So if you look at, let's say the password that we generated with Canva, how are they going to remember that? They're going to have to actually write down that password. And there may be a chance that happens. That's why we have the audit trail and we go back and reset that stuff. But most employees, unless they're trying to do something like super malicious, that you're not going to have that problem. And the big risk with employees are not the malicious stuff. It's the things that they don't know that they're doing wrong,
stuff,
like
right.
the password reuse,
right,
or clicking on the wrong link,
Right. No, so somebody's asking the question, okay, well, if I'm sharing that link, isn't that the same thing as a risk? No. And the answer to that is because you're sharing a link to the same vault, if you will. Okay. If they don't have the key to the vault, they can't get to that password. So if I'm sharing a link with a coworker, they have to have access as well. So they just can't,
right.
they're not in a place to get it, or, for whatever reason, they're not searching properly. They can't find it. So they're like, we all have one on the team. Like, where is that? Without even looking, we don't have.
And you kind of, if we use that analogy of the house that you were talking about before, like you notice when I logged in, it wasn't just the password that I used to log in. It was also that multi-factor code. So just think about it. You're going into a house, you undo the deadbolt with a key. The key never changes. What happens if you had an alarm code and the alarm code changed on a regular basis and you had to know what it was? That's the MFA. So you have those security measures in place for every single one of your employees to access those privileged or those important passwords. And then you have the fail-safe on the back end to be able to, share it with them, have the audit trail. And honestly, you can also go in and revoke access to these passwords just by unchecking this.
Right.
So if you just want to give limited time access to somebody to log in once, you can do that.
You can grow into it, right? All right, so keeping an eye on the time. We're at 10 minutes to the hour. How are we doing? I think we.
Yeah, I can hand this back over to you, and I'm sure that some of the attendees right now are probably going to ask about using this on like a mobile device,
right?
Because obviously we're doing all web-based here, and
right.
people have to plug in those passwords.
Yeah. What if they're not at a computer?
The easy part is that MyGlue actually has an app. They have an Android app and they have an iPhone app. So if you're running one of those, you can basically install the app. It's got the same password and MFA set up on it. And then you can search all of the same passwords that are in there. And it gives you a little button for you to like copy it. So it puts it into your clipboard, and then you can go to the website that you want on or even the app that needs to sign on and just paste the information in. So it's pretty intuitive.
Okay, good. All right, then moving along here, I mean, this is truly, what I get labeled this, if you will, the team security between the MyGlue application and your team. Now you've got, the right steps towards a true fantastic application, if you will, that's built to help the small businesses, right, and their password management and their documentation. We didn't even touch on the documentation just because of time alone, but one of the little perks, that I think it's worth mentioning is, as Matt said, this tool, somebody brought up the question, well, is this something we developed? No. Okay, this was developed, for the IT world. So, it's SOC has all the credentials for the security that go with it. So MSPs, myself and Matthew, are utilizing this complete portal to document our infrastructures for our clients. So it goes way past just a password manager. And, so I just thought I'd just kind of mention it there. It's a documentation platform as well. And, what it does for us is, because we're already sharing it, I mean, we've already documented your platform. I mean, Matthew could probably speak even better to this from the technical side of it, but we believe in transparency. Now our clients, have what we call a run book. They have access to what they need, because it's their infrastructure. Every, configuration, every detail, it's already there. And,
Yeah, so Cora and I have actually talked a lot about this, and we've got the same thought process on this. Too many IT companies now use privileged credentials, admin credentials, access to systems that's leverage to hold people hostage. And we're firm believers that we want you to do business with us. And if you don't, we will want to hold you hostage to do business with us.
It's your infrastructure, right.
So we have all of this stuff documented, and you can kind of see on the slide here that there's a lot more on the left-hand side than what we showed you in the demo. So we're tracking things like how your email is set up and all the applications that you have, licenses, wireless configurations, and all that can be printed in one PDF document and handed to you so that you can see your system at a snapshot. And it also can be shared out with you. And that's one of the most important things, and where it saves us a lot of time and leverages us to be a better IT company for our clients, is that if you want to share a password out to us to be able to go in and do a specific IT task or solve something, it's literally one click away for you to share that with us securely, not send it over email or anything, and allow us to gain access to that system, and then it can be pulled away later if necessary. So we've had instances where we're doing email migrations at night, and a client has, created a multi-factor authentication into their account, changed their password, and before we had this, we're at a standstill. We got to reschedule the project, and now it takes weeks longer. And now that we have this system, it's really easy. We just have that symbiotic relationship. We get just the right access that we need, and we can get the job done really quickly.
Even with the documentation, there's so much more, and we could be here all day, but today it's about password management, keeping yourself secure and your team. And now you can see how you can share it with the team. You take charge of all the passwords, and then truly, check the box off for your digital posture as far as security goes.
There was a really important question inside the chat there. They said, what happens if primary password to access MyGlue is hacked? Is there some type of alert notification? And any kind of, even SOC 2 compliance and stuff like that, there's not going to be any kind of alert. And the reason why is because we force that multi-factor authentication. And that multi-factor authentication has that rotating password that even if somebody gains access to your password, they can't get in without that multi-factor authentication. And that's that second layer of security that it's basically like 98% of hacks or 97% of hacks are mitigated by that multi-factor. So unless somebody gains access to your Google Authenticator or whatever authentication app you're using, so that means they need to steal your phone, get the PIN or your thumbprint to be able to get into there, and also have your password hacked. So like, you have better chances of winning the lottery.
All right, so we've got a couple minutes left, and I'm sure, you know, the questions and answers coming in. How do I get this, right? Okay, one, how much is it? Yep, okay. All right, okay. It's coming, it's coming. Webinar love today, all right? This is what we're doing for you. The webinar today, we're actually gonna, you know, cut the rates that we're doing in an individual basis. You know, you can access this password manager platform for $5 per person. And, you know, with that, again, I think we've even covered that, the security, the, you know, the platform itself and the documentation part of it we didn't even touch on. That is absolutely a fabulous rate, if you will. And that is across all the devices. There's no limitations now. You know, like, okay, you can only use this on your phone, or, you know, it's more money over here. No, that's your flat rate price. And, you know,
and that's a really good value that you're striking there. I mean, I know we typically sell it for a lot more, so you're giving them a good deal. But just as a business owner and the way that I value time as money, I take a look at this, and you're looking at a standard full-time employee is working 160 hours a month. Divide that by the $5, you're basically covering them for 3 cents an hour. Imagine how much time they're going to save over the entire course of their day. It will pay for itself 100% in productivity.
And your security alone. So, you know, really today, I'm really offering also to onboard this for you. Okay, with no extra fees, no extra charging, you know, but you do really, you have to sign up today, put your email in the chat, and we will get you registered, and we will also onboard it for you. We'll give you that special rate, and then we will also record that onboarding direction so that you can keep that going forward.
Yeah, that's nice.
All right, so I'll leave this open for a couple minutes. We are finishing right on the hour, Matthew. This
Good
is awesome.
job.
I know. So I'm gonna just real quick, does anybody have any more questions? Let's see while we leave this chat open, and I'm losing my question board. Right, okay.
So there was a question here. When you say all devices, would it include more than one phone? So basically the licensing is specifically set up per user. So just like you have, let's just use Gmail as an example. If you have a Gmail account, that's a per user. You can log into Gmail from your desktop, from your laptop, on your iPhone, on your iPad, your Android phone. You log in 15 places at once if you needed to. So you can, the devices are unlimited basically. It's all based upon the user, and you definitely want to make sure that you have one user per physical warm body in a seat, because if you don't, then the audit trail is useless. If you've got 2 users using the same MyGlue user, how are we going to prove which one reset the password when? So it's a moot point. Like, you don't even need audit trail at that point, you know?
Right.
So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I think what they were referring to also is, you know, like you take an Office 365 license, you can download on up to 5 devices, where this isn't the same. This is you own the vault. You can log in anywhere you see fit. It's your vault. It's yours. All right, I think we've come to the end of our webinar. Thank you very much, Matthew. You know, everything was great, was wonderful. We appreciate your expertise on this.
I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Tom, for managing the phones. And thank you all for joining us today. And stay cyber safe. All right, have a great day.
Take care.